Today, we're going to go into the next part. The packet we put together does include a lot of pages from the modules, but rather than have you flipping back and forth, we just copied the module pages into your packet. So don't stress about that. Just understand these are coming from the modules, but to make it easier for you and cause less confusion, we just put it all together. So we're going to start this introduction into integers and ordering them with a little bit of a thought process. I do want to add this in right at the start today, guys, because I'm getting really frustrated grading on my homework today, seeing the lack of people marking their text. We're back in the modules a lot now. You're seeing a lot more of these word problems. If you're not marking your text, you're going to be missing pieces. I'm sure I'll be pointing it out as I grade your guys' homework today. How many of you didn't do the things you were supposed to because you're not marking your text? So please get used to this. It is designed to help you. So on our first one, we need to graph the number 7 and its opposite on the number line. We're also going to graph the number 5 and its opposite on the number line. So we have two tasks in which we're graphing both of these. So for the number 7, to graph it on my number line, all I'm going to do is go out here to where it says 7, put in my dot. Where is its opposite? What's the opposite of 7?
-7.
Good job, Kaylee. So -7. So I'm going to come down here to -7, and I'll put the dot here. Now our second set, we're supposed to graph the number 5. So I'll come back up here to 5, graph it here. What is the opposite of 5? -5. Sounds like you guys are pretty comfortable with that. That's good. Okay. Now here's where the thought questions come in. If I were to describe it, where does 7 lie in relation to 5 on the number line? So if I'm going to describe where 7 is, starting at 5, what would I say, Cannon? Oh, no, it's still going. It just, thank you, though. That would have been bad if it had stopped recording. Madison? Perfect, and thank you for adding that, because guys, I will tell you right now, that is really the most important concept today, is understanding left to right, where are these numbers in relation to each other. So she did that perfectly. So 7 is 2 spaces to the right of 5. If you can get comfortable with describing these relationships in terms of left and right on the number line, you will be well placed for putting these integers in the proper order. Now, our second one, where does the opposite of 7 lie on the number line in relation to the opposite of 5? Kaylee? Good, -5. Okay, so -7 is 2 spaces to the left of -5. Or another way to think of this is when I had 2 numbers on the positive side, when I looked at the opposites, the order reversed. Instead of going right, I now have to go left to get to the opposite. Okay? So I'm thinking of 2 numbers. The first number lies to the right of the second number on the number line. What can you say about the location of their opposites? So my first number is to the right of the second number. What can I say about their opposites? I don't know, what do you think? Awesome. I actually like that additional piece you put in there. Will the number of spaces between them change? No. All that's going to change is now to the left. So the opposite will be the same number of spaces away, but to the left. And everybody visualize that. Same number of spaces. Forgot the of. Yes, Katie? You see it? Okay. Will this always be the case, guys? No, why not? Will always be the same. If my first number is always to the right, then when I switch them, it will always go to the left. Okay? So when I start looking at the opposite, I'm changing both of the numbers. Okay, our next part. The record low temperature for a town in Maine are negative 20 degrees for January, negative 19 degrees for February. Order the numbers from least to greatest. Explain how you arrived at the order. So we have two tasks. Order the numbers. This is one of the key pieces here, guys. You've got to understand which way you're going. And then we also need to explain. So we have to add an explanation in here. So which number, when we say least to greatest, that means I'm starting with the smaller number, right? So which number is smaller, negative 20 or negative 19? JJ? Negative 19 is smaller than negative 20? You sure about that? So negative 20 is lower than negative 19, even though 20 is bigger than 19.
Don't be scared of that voice when he asks, are you sure? He's like,
Okay. Wesley? Hold on, guys. Too much talking. I can't hear him. Micah? Say it again, Wesley. Kaylee. Nate. I apologize. Nate was talking. I still couldn't hear you. You got to be careful. You can't really say farther than 0. Because 7 is farther than 0 from 0 than 5. Is 7 less than 5? No. So you have to rethink about that. You're on the right track. So where is negative 20 in relation to negative 19 on the number line? Negative 20 is right of negative 19? It's left of negative 19? Yes? Yes. Because on the negative side, and this is why it gets confusing, guys, when I get into the negative numbers, the bigger the negative number, the further left I have gone, which means that number is smaller. Because when we look at comparing integers, in this case, it would have gone negative 20, negative 19, and then I do everything up to 0, right? So negative 20 is actually further left on my number line. And when we start comparing and talking about the ordering of integers, the easy way to think of it is left is less. So add this into your notes, because that's really our biggest key when we're looking at our ordering today. So now, what would my explanation be? Why is negative 20 less than negative 19? Because negative 20 is further. No, guys, you've got to get away from that. Because again, is 20 further away from 0 than 10? Yes, so by your reasoning, 20 is less than 10. 20 is less than 10?
oh, negative. Yeah.
Okay? Comparing to 0 only works for negatives. I would much rather get you guys in the thought of which number is further left on the number line. So negative 20 is, if negative 20 is further left on the number line. So if you guys can get used to talking about relative position, left versus right on the number line, that will help you explain and understand which ones are smaller and bigger. Does that make sense? Okay, let's do a couple more examples to help solidify this. Yeah, my number came out kind of funny. There. That's supposed to be number line. I kept saying left. I should say number line. So negative 20 is further left on the number line. It is. It's way easier. That's why I'm glad you moved up here, Kaylee. Okay, so we're going to give you guys a chance to practice this concept. We want you to do numbers 2 through 4 as a table so you can work with your partners. We'll give you guys about 5 minutes to knock those 3 out.
All right, guys, let's go over these 3. Let's look at the directions first. The directions said, order the rational numbers from least to greatest by first reading the problem, then draw a number line, and finally explain your answer. So, John's time for running the mile in gym class is 9 2/10 minutes. Jackie's time is 9 18/100 minutes. Who ran the mile in less time? So the first thing I want to focus on are our 2 times. We have 9 2/10 minutes and 9 18/100 minutes. Yes? So my question is, can I do something to one of those decimals to make them have the same number of decimal places as the other one, to make them even? She says I can add a 0 at the end of 9 2/10 and make it 9 20/100. And yes, after a decimal, you can add a 0 onto the end and it doesn't change the number. But it does make the decimal places even. So now looking at it, I have 9 20/100 versus 9 18/100. Which one do you think is less time? 9 18/100. Let's look at it on a number line. These are both positive numbers, so which side of 0 are they going to be on? To the right. So 0's here, and then I have 9 and 10, because both of them come between 9 and 10. Yes? So which one would come closer to 9? 9 18/100. Guys, if you don't know how to do it in time, think of it like money. Which one is closer to $9? 5. 4. Which one would be closer to $9? $9.20 or $9.18? Yes. So this is Jackie. And then we have $9.20 or 9 minutes and 20/100 is John. So the question was, who ran the mile in less time? Jackie, because she is further to the left, and left always means less. So Jackie ran the mile in less time because 9 18/100 is further left on the number line. Any questions about that one? So when you are comparing decimals, give them the same number of decimal places by adding 0. And it will help you to better compare them. Make sense? But that only works when you're doing decimals. Guys, you can't just add zeros to whole numbers. That doesn't work. All right, number 3. Guys, I don't like talking over people, and I'll start shouting out your name on video. And I email parents and say, please watch at 5 minutes and 12 seconds. So, shush. All right. Mrs. Rodriguez is a teacher at Westbury Middle School. She gives bonus points on tests for outstanding written answers and deducts points for answers that are not written correctly. She uses rational numbers to represent the points. She wrote the following on students' papers. Student A got -2 points, and student B got -2.5 points, or 2.5 points. Did student A or student B perform worse on the test? So first, let's look at our two numbers. We have -2 points, and we have -2 5/10 points. Can I make these have the same number of decimal places? By doing what? Yes, I know whole numbers have a decimal after them, and then I can add a 0. Now they're even, right? So which one did worse on the test? Which one had more points taken off for their wrong answer? Well, let's see. So what side of the number line or 0 does negative numbers come on? The left. So 0 is going to be here, and I know -2 is here, and -3 is here. So student A had -2 points, and student B had -2 5/10 points. Where would 2 5/10 come? Yes, it is more than 2, but less than 3, so it comes right in the middle of 2 and 3. So who did worse on their test? Who scored less points? Nora? Yes, student B, because his score is further to the left. We could have done that without a number line, but it's good to see it on the number line. We know that -2.5 points is more, or getting taken off, than 2 points. Yes? But they asked us to do it on a number line, so we're going to do it on a number line. And guys, remember, your points always go on the line, not above or below. Okay? Number 4. A carp is swimming approximately 8¼ feet beneath the water surface, and a sunfish is swimming approximately 3½ feet beneath the water surface. Which fish is swimming farther beneath the water's surface? So let's start with our two numbers. We have 8¼ 8¼ and we have 3½ Both of these are positive. So what side of 0 are they going to be on? Is that right? Who can tell me what I asked you and why it's wrong? So these are actually negative numbers. Thank you for picking that up, because the key words are beneath. Yes. Guys, I was seeing if you were paying attention. Come on now. So let me ask this again. What side of 0 are these numbers going to come on? The left. So I have 0, and then I'm going to start counting from 0. And I can stop at 9 because our biggest number is 8. Yes? Okay. So where would -3.5, guys, I keep doing this, negative numbers. Where would -3.5 come on the number line? Nora? In between -3 and -4, because it is more than 3, but it is less than 4. So it comes right in the middle. And that is -3.5. And that is my sunfish. And then I have my carp that is swimming -8¼ beneath the surface. So where is -8 1/4 going to come? Okay, you're close. It's more than 8 because it's 8 and 1/4. So it would actually be between 8 and 9. So -8 and 1/4. And that's my starfish. Good night in heaven. I'm not doing good today. My carp. So which one is swimming farther beneath the water surface? The carp, because it is further to the left. All right, guys, here's a good question. 5, 4, 3. What on this number line represents the water's surface? 0 represents the water's surface or sea level. So that way, we can really see that the carp is further from the water's surface than the sunfish. Yes? Any questions about these 3 problems? All right, guys, I want you to do example 2 at the bottom of the page. We're going to give you about 2 minutes, and then we'll go over it. I didn't do anything. I literally just pressed play when I started.
Okay, you've been doing well. Let's not blow it now. Okay, on this one, Henry, Janet, and Clark are playing a card game. The object of the game is to finish with the most points. The scores at the end of the game are Henry at -7, Janet at 4, and Clark at -5. Who won the game? There's one question. Who came in last place? There's a second question. Use a number line model and explain. So there's actually 4 pieces to this, aren't there? Yes, ma'am. Janet got 0. If I said 4, I apologize. So there's 4 different things that we are supposed to do on this. Now, since it says we need to use a number line, let's go ahead and start with that because it will actually make the rest of it easier. So if I make my number line, I have to look at the numbers that are actually on it to help me determine what intervals I should use. -7, 0, -5. Looks like they're close enough. I should be able to go by intervals of 1. So I'm just actually going to start it at -7 and then go back up from that. -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. There is a negative in front of that. Okay? Now, for Henry, he's at -7. So at -7, I'll put this, make sure I label it. And H is the number of Henry's points. Make it longer. That's why we do stuff in pencil. Okay? Janet is at 0. So here I will put J. So J is Janet's points. And the last one, Clark is at -5. Guys, an awful lot of background noise. Please stop. Especially on my side. And C is the number of Clark's points. Once I have them on a number line, the rest of this should be easy. If I want to be the most points, who's was furthest to the right? Nora? So Janet won. He was furthest to the right. Who lost? Henry lost because he was furthest to the left. Okay, now just double check. Have we done everything we were supposed to?
No.
Because we had a lot of things we were supposed to do on this one, right? No, what didn't I do, Kaylee? We didn't explain? I didn't say that Jan was furthest right? So did we explain? Yeah? We got everything in there, right? So looking at my box, this was who won, we answered that. Who came in last place, we answered that. We used a number line, and we have an explanation. Okay? Everybody good?
I wrote it.
Well done. Let's turn the page.
It's been a while since I've actually.
I know, it makes a big difference.
Hey.
Okay, now we're going to talk specifically about comparing integers. Nate. Micah.
6 more minutes until lunch.
Now, when we compare integers, there are two primary things we are looking at. The first one, we can compare the sign, is it positive or negative, as well as the magnitude or size. That's an N, and sign, S-I-G-N. Magnitude, we can also refer to that as the number. So in other words, we're looking at the number, how large it is. And where are they located on the number line? That second part is the primary piece for determining which numbers are bigger or smaller. The ones that are further left, less numbers are left. That's the easy one to remember. Right is more, left is less.
So I'm less.
Sarah, Mr. Chan. Mr. Chan, can you grab her real quick?
It's cold.
Okay. To compare integers, there's a couple of things that we can do. Okay? Really important. What does this sign, this symbol mean? Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Chan real quick.
What did I tell y'all about that?
The alligators.
5, 4. All right, guys, what does this sign mean, Zuriel? It does mean less than. That means that the first number is less than the second number. For example, if I had -4 and -7, which one would come first? Which one is less than the other? -7 is less than -4. And guys, I don't know if they showed you this in elementary school. It's like an alligator's mouth that wants to eat the bigger meal. 5, 4. So the way you read this situation is -7 is less than -4. Make sense? So what does this sign mean? Greater than. That means the first number is greater than the second number. Yes?
I feel bad for that crocodile because it's been there for like kindergarten. So how big is it? Is it like bigger than the school now?
He likes to eat. 5, 4, 3. Guys, I will email parents and tell them to watch this video and see how many times we had to count and tell y'all to hush. Stop. All right, so let's look at example 1. They give us -5 and -2, and they've already given us our signs. So what does the first one mean? Less than. So which number is less than the other? -5 is less than -2. But if we wanted to reverse that and do greater than, which one is greater than the other? -2 is further to the right, and But that doesn't work when it's positive. Closer to 0, I did that. Closer to 0 does not work when it's on the positive side. So using left and right will always work. Make sense? All right, I want you to do the last two on example 1, and I'm only going to give you about a minute. Do -4 and 3 and -3 and 0.
I'm looking at the number line. Did you pause the video?
-4 and 3. Which one is less than the other? -4 is less than 3. Or 3 is greater than -4. All right, -3 and 0. Which one is less than the other? Or we could say
0 is greater than -3.
Okay, welcome back from lunch. Ms. McShan stole the pen. Oh, here it is. Guys, quiet. We got to get through this. We got a lot left to do. Now, and I highly recommend this, guys, especially until you are really comfortable understanding, especially on the negative side, that the more negative a number is, the less it is. A number line is going to help you visualize this, okay? You can use a number line to order a set of integers. Integers can be ordered from least to greatest or from greatest to least. The single biggest mistakes you guys will make in these integers pieces is doing it the wrong way. So please pay attention to what you're doing. Be sure to read what the question is asking for carefully. Now, order the set. We haven't talked a whole lot about sets, but let me just hit this real quick. In math, one of the things we have is what we call sets of integers. We talked about the different types the other day when we gave the introduction to integers and talked about whole numbers, rational numbers. A set is just a piece of numbers. Normally, you're going to see something like brackets, like this right here. That tells you I'm looking at this entire set. So it's saying, with these 4 numbers, I need to order them from least to greatest using a number line. So the number line will help you do this. The best way to do it, I just go through it, I put the numbers on the number line. So the first one, -9, I put a dot. I cross it out lightly to make sure that I get it done. 6, I put a dot. -3, I put a dot. 0, I put a dot. Once I have all of them graphed, putting them in order is really easy. Because where do I start if I'm going from least to greatest? Left to right. So I go all the way to the left. The first dot I see is at -9. The next dot I see, -3. Next dot I see, 0. The last one is 6. Now it's actually really easy once I have these in order to make an inequality statement out of this as well. So I can make this an inequality literally just by changing the commas to a either less than or greater than sign depending on how I have ordered them. In this case, I'm going least to greatest. The first number is going to be the smallest. So I'm going to be using a less than sign. So I can rewrite this as an inequality statement and say -3 is less than -9, sorry, is less than -3, which is less than 0, which is less than 6. So I've now changed that from an ordering to an inequality statement. Make sense? Now, could we also order them comparing the signs and values of the numbers? You can, because I know any negative number is going to be smaller or bigger than a positive. Smaller. So by looking at the sign, if I know I have a negative and a positive, the positive is automatically going to be bigger. Then I can also look at the values or how the magnitude, how large the number is. On the negative side, the higher the number, the smaller it is. On the positive side, the higher the number, the bigger it is. That's the part you have to remember. Okay? Let's go one more. This is actually a page for you guys to do by yourselves again. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes. Listen up. Listen. So the first three here, pay attention to what you're doing. Where it says exercise 4, you can put the symbol inside of the little boxes that we gave for you, or you can put it either under or above. I don't care. Just put it somewhere in those three. For these last ones, it gets kind of confusing. You don't need these boxes. All you're doing is answering the questions. Okay? So just forget those boxes are there. Just answer each of the questions. You have 10 minutes. Go. Yes, ma'am? But he thinks I'm just picking on him. Okay, so again, you have to pay attention to what they're asking. Least to greatest. A lot of times it may help you to do something like that, L to G, just to focus on where I'm starting. This means I need to go with the smallest number to the biggest number. So as soon as I get to a point in my list where I've gone the other way, I know I'm wrong. So -2 to -5, did I go up or down? Going down. -5 is smaller than -2, so that one's not it. 7 to -5, yeah, that went down. So that one went down big time, so that can be least. -5, -2, -7, did each one get bigger? Yes, answer C. This one, increasing. Increasing means what? Getting bigger. So it's the same as saying least to greatest, because it's getting bigger. If I go from 0 to -2, is that getting bigger? No. If I go -8 to -7, is that getting bigger? To -5? Yeah. To -2? To 0? Yes. That one is B. Guys, quiet down. Quiet. Decreasing order means what? This one is greatest to least. So I'm going opposite now. So I want the biggest number first. So bit 9, is that the biggest number? Then to 7? Then to 8? No, I just went the wrong way. 9 to 8? To 7? To -8? To -9? Yes. Okay. Our next set, all we're doing is comparing them in the order that they've listed them. So is -6 further left or further right to -5? Further left makes it less than. For the absolute values ones, it may help you to rewrite the absolute value as the number that it actually is. So this is actually saying 46 and 46. It's the same number. Absolute value of -65 is 65. Absolute value of 65 is 65. Same number. It's okay, Emma, you'll get there. -8, 0, less than. 47, -28. Any positive will always be bigger than a negative. -7 and 7. How are they equal? A negative to a positive. Negative will always be smaller than a positive. The big difference here, guys, on this one we have the absolute value signs. The absolute value is just talking how far from 0 it is. So that's always positive. If I don't have absolute value signs, then I'm comparing the actual integers. Okay? Does every integer have an opposite? Yes. Explain. Okay? There is a positive and negative of every number. Yeah, she did. Means you can flip it. So every number has both a positive and a negative for it. Does a decimal number such as 5 4/10 have an opposite? Yes, what would it be? Negative 5 4/10. Literally, guys, all you do is change the sign. Changing the sign makes it the opposite. Yes? No, I said changing the sign. If it's a negative number, getting rid of it makes it the opposite. Four and 5/10. Yeah, so the opposite would be negative 4 and 5/10. Literally, all you're doing to make an opposite, guys, is changing the sign. Positive becomes a negative, negative becomes positive. 0 is the one exception, 0 stays the same. 0 is its own opposite. Yes? When the absolute value of a number, when is the absolute value of a number the number itself? In other words, when is the absolute value of a number the same as the number? Good. So I heard both answers because there's actually two answers to this. 0 or any positive number. Because remember, it's just its distance away. So if it's a positive number, then that is also its absolute value. It's telling you how far from 0 it is. So the blank blank of a number is its distance from 0 on a number line. Absolute value. And two integers are considered what if their sum is 0? No, not negative. Not positive. No. No. What is the math term, guys? No. What math term do we use for two numbers that if I add them together, it would equal 0? Hold on. No. No. Nora? No. Ava? No.
Just tell us the answer.
Okay, if I have a positive number and a negative number, I put them together so it equals 0. That would tell me those two numbers are the same number, right? Just different signs. What do we call the same numbers with different? I just gave it to you with the different signs.
Reciprocal.
No, reciprocal is when I flip it upside down,
Oh my God.
and that one's multiplying where it equals 1.
You?
Yes, Madison.
How does it always equal 0?
Because what's the opposite of 7? -7. If I add 7 and -7, what do I get? 0. Because one's 7 up. If I move 7 back, I get to 0. Any number plus its opposite is 0. Okay?
You're mean. I was thinking -54 plus
Guys, quiet down, please. We've only got like 2 minutes left before I got to get through the notes or the homework. That means we're about to hit warp speed, so you need to be quiet. Make sure you're writing down what we write down. Okay, Sammy has $10 in the bank. He owes his friend $2.25, owes his sister $1.75. Consider the three rational numbers related to this story. Write and order them from least to greatest. So there's our task. So I need to write the numbers. If I have $10 in the bank, is that positive or negative? Positive. So that would be $10. If I owe Hank $2.25, would that be positive or negative? Negative. So that's negative $2.25. If I owe my sister $1.75, is that positive or negative? Negative. Now that I have the numbers, I need to write them from least to greatest. So which one of those numbers would be furthest left on my number line? Negative 2.25. So to put them in order, negative 2.25 would be the smallest. Negative 175 would be next. And any positive is always be the biggest, especially when you're comparing to negative numbers. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we had let the other classes do these by themselves. We're a little bit behind. So I'm going to run through them with you real quick. So during their most recent visit, Kadisha and her sister Beth had their vision tested. Cadice's vision in her left eye was -1 and 150. In her right eye was the opposite number. Beth's vision was -1 in her left and +25 in her right. So to make integers out of these, it would be -1 and 50 hundredths. The opposite of that would be 1 and 50 hundredths, positive. The sister's left eye, Beth, is -1. Her right eye, 25 hundredths. So which of those numbers would be the smallest or the farthest left on our number line? -1 and 50 hundredths. Next one would be -1. Then we go to our positives. We have a decimal, so a decimal is going to be smaller than anything with a whole number. And finally,
You send someone with stuff.
I assume it's Gabe's stuff because he went down to the nurse. Ava, is this Gabe's or is that yours? So can someone run that down to the nurse's office real quick? Thanks, JJ. So you might want to listen to the instructions tonight on the homework. Okay, good news. You guys actually behaved relatively well today, other than Micah. So we will let you cross out this entire page. So you guys just cross out this page. We're not doing this one that has Monica and Jeff on top. Okay? Go to the next page. It says problem set on top.
Wait, you forgot to do this one.
We're not doing that one. The one that says problem set on top. We are doing this. So let me show you what to do. For each of the relationships described below, write an inequality that relates to the rational numbers. So you really have two parts. You need to make a number for the situation. Then you're going to write an inequality. Put an inequality symbol between them. So we have 7 feet below sea level is farther below sea level than 4.5 feet below sea level. So 7 feet below sea level, what number would I write for that? -7. 4.5 feet below sea level, what number would I write for that? -4.5. So I have to do it in the order it's written. Now what inequality symbol would go between them? Less than or greater than? Is -7 further left? Less than, because -7 is smaller than -4.5. Which on the negative sides is where you guys are going to have to wrap your brains around that. Okay, so that's what you're doing for the first 6. The next 6, this is actually really easy if you'll follow the directions. For each of the following, use information given by the inequality to describe the relative position of the numbers on a horizontal number line. Okay, it says -2 is less than -1. So to describe that, I would say -2/10 is further left, not away. Please do not talk about distance from 0. That's absolute value. It's a totally different concept. When I talk less than or greater than, it's further left or further right on the number line. Further left than -1/10. So that's literally all you're going to say. Basically, you're going to put the first number, and then you're going to say, is it further left or further right than the other number? Make sense? Okay? Now, this last part can be a little more difficult because you're making stuff up. There's a lot of different answers to this. So in this case, 3 integers between -4 and 0, but I have to start with the smallest one and build to the largest one. Now, -4 and 0 doesn't give me a whole lot of options. It's basically -3, -2, -1. You have to put them in the correct order. Okay? So you're going to answer each of those. Turn the page. This is actually the next 2 pages. It's only 10 problems. These are really easy, guys. This is part of your homework. So you have 3 pages of homework. Okay? Honestly, this page is 10 problems. Should take you about 3 minutes. It's not hard. Okay? Now, the last one I wanted to talk about real quickly is this last page. This is optional. I will say it again. This is optional. You do not have to do it. That being said, this is good practice for writing integers. Here's what you would do if you choose to. 3 units left would be -3. Above -3, I put the letter E. You do that for all of them.